So it's been a few months since I've posted a video. But hey, I hit 500 subscribers! So welcome back to Josh Pan Cooking, also known as Cooking with a Pan. I apologize for not posting a video in so long. At first it was just like I'm too busy with finals and I have a bunch of stuff to do, but then summer started and I still haven't posted a video in a month, so it's kind of just I'm too lazy. So I apologize, but I am back. So what's new? This haircut's new. I cut my hair myself now, and I just have this bun thing going on here, and it's actually getting a little long on the sides again, so I kind of have to trim again, but yeah. I also reorganized my room, which you can kind of see back here, but yeah, everything's really tidy now, which I'm very happy with, but I'm not going to show you because I'm too lazy to move the camera. I also started wearing contacts more often just because it's easy and glasses can be inconvenient sometimes, so yeah, I feel like that's about it. It's currently summer, so I'm not at school, but school's gonna start again in about like a month and a half, 2 months or so, so I'm gonna try to get as much filming as I can between now and then, so that I can have stuff to post. And the clips in this video have actually been filmed for a few months now. I just haven't had the time to film this and to edit and put it together. So a lot of these clips are from way back then, so I apologize, but yeah, so without further ado, let's get started. Woo! So of course, before we begin, all the ingredients are going to be listed below in the description, so you can go check it out there, or on Instructables, where I will also post a written out step-by-step recipe of this video. So we're going to go ahead and mix together our dry ingredients. Our dry ingredients are going to be the almond meal, our powdered sugar, our pinch of salt, and our tablespoon of crushed lavender flowers. So go ahead and mix all those dry ingredients together, set that aside, and we're going to deal with our eggs. So for this, we're going to only want to use egg whites like always. You don't want any yolk in there or else it won't beat properly. So go ahead, separate your whites, and then we're going to add our granulated sugar, or if you have superfine sugar, into our eggs, and we're just gonna beat that on like a medium-high speed until it becomes nice and stiff peaks, almost to the point of being dry, but not too dry, and it should kind of be like marshmallowy and very light. So at this point, if you're using food coloring, this is when you would add it in. For the video clips, I didn't have time to pull out my food coloring, so I didn't use it, but you can either add red and blue food coloring, use gel food coloring, because gel food coloring uses much less and affects the chemistry a lot less. So you can use red and blue, or you can just get purple if you can find purple. And just put a little dab in to get some of that purple color. And keep in mind that when you bake, the color is gonna fade, so you want it a shade darker than you want your end result to be. So once your color is all nicely blended in, go ahead, turn off your mixer, and we're going to go ahead and sift in all of our dry ingredients. This is to remove all the big clumps and to make sure we get a nice powdery consistency. So now for the hard part, we're going to fold everything together. So to fold it, we kind of want to run our rubber spatula along the side and push it towards the center of the bowl so that you don't disrupt the meringue too much, but it gets a nice even mix, and you want the powder to really get mixed in. Usually I start out with about like 30 folds or so I count to 30, and then if I need more, I'll keep going. And the way you know that your macaron batter is done is when you pull it out of the bowl, it doesn't ribbon very smoothly. It kind of gives you a clumpy ribbon, but it doesn't look like chunky. So the inside of it should look kind of smooth, but still very thick, kind of like molten lava, like the way you would imagine lava to run down a volcano. That is the consistency you want. So this takes practice, and you might not get it the first time, but just the more you work on it, the more close you get to the right consistency. So once you're done with that, you're going to go ahead and fill your mixture into a piping bag fitted with a big round tip, and we're just going to pipe little quarter-sized mounds onto your parchment paper or your silicone baking mats. Then a very, very important step is you want to take each of your pans and bang them on a counter or like against a hard surface a few times, just so you can get the big air bubbles out, and this also kind of loosens up the mixture, flattens out into the right size. Otherwise your macarons are going to be like very tall and puffy. You kind of want a very thin wafer-like layer of macaron batter, and just banging on the counter kind of evens it out and flattens it down. Then the next step is going to be your easiest step, but also your most important step, and that is to leave your macarons on a counter to dry. This usually takes about 30 to 60 minutes. You might want to check your local humidity for the day, because high humidity really affects your macarons and causes them to crack, causes them to like not bake properly and not dry properly. So you really want to check your humidity and wait at least 30 minutes to an hour. If you need more time, let that sit. Don't throw them into the oven while they're wet. You can take a fan and blow it over your macarons to make sure they dry. But yeah, so when it rains, you're definitely going to want to use a fan. If you have high humidity, also use a fan to just like blow dry them. But the way you know they're dry is when you touch it with your finger, it dents downward, but the surface will not crack. Because if the surface cracks at all, that means they're not dry enough. So you want to get it to that kind of dryness before you can bake. So at this point is when I would start to preheat the oven, because it's going to take a long time to dry. So right now you can preheat your oven to about 300 degrees Fahrenheit. I have kind of a range I use, anywhere between like the high 200s to the low 300s. You can kind of test your oven, see what your optimum temperature is, but I would start at around 300 or 305 degrees. Then once your oven is ready and once your macarons are dry, go ahead and pop them into an oven. I can pop 2 layers into my oven, but some ovens can only do 1 layer at a time just because the heating is uneven. So if you have a very like well-heated, evenly heated oven, you can go ahead and put in 2. If you have an older oven, I would suggest just using 1 layer at a time. Otherwise, some of them will burn, some of them will not, some of them will not cook properly, and it's just a mess, and they go everywhere. So, yeah. Then we're going to go ahead and bake them for 18 minutes or until they dry out. So you know they're ready when you lift it off of the pan. You only get a couple little crumbs left on your pan. And the reason why you don't want to bake it any more than that is because if you do bake it more, it's going to dry out completely and become very like dry and crunchy. We kind of want a softness inside. So go ahead, take them out of the oven, but leave them on the pan so that the bottom continues to cook and sticks to your cookies. And this will create the right kind of consistency on the inside. Again, that should take about 18 minutes, but sometimes if your macarons are bigger, maybe 20, 22, if they're smaller, perhaps even 16 or 17 minutes is enough. So you do want to check at around 18. If they're not ready, continue to bake them. Now while you let your macarons completely cool to room temperature, we're going to go ahead and make our filling. So for this recipe, we're doing a lavender buttercream filling. So go ahead and take your room temperature butter and put it into the bowl of a stand mixer and beat that using a paddle attachment on high speed until it becomes nice and soft and fluffy. Then we're just going to go ahead and sift in all of that powdered sugar and reduce the speed to low. You don't want to go too high because the sugar will fly everywhere, and it also create air bubbles inside your buttercream. And finally, we're going to add that last bit of lavender in. And again, at this point, if you want to add food coloring, this is when you would do it the same way as you did before, but this time on low speed. Finally, we're just going to add in our little bit of vanilla extract and, if necessary, our heavy cream to just kind of soften it out. Now once your macarons are cooled and your buttercream is ready, go ahead and fill that buttercream into a nice piping bag fitted with a similar tip from before, a nice big round tip, and we're just going to pipe a little mound in the middle of each cookie and sandwich 2 cookies together. And there you have it. You have a nice, beautiful, delicious lavender buttercream macaron. So yeah, that's how you do it. And again, you can use food coloring. I didn't use food coloring in mine just because I didn't have the time to. But yeah, so if you enjoyed that recipe, go ahead and give this video a big thumbs up and comment down below. Find me on my social media. All my media is listed below. And again, you can find me on Instructables for a nice written out recipe. If you didn't catch something in this video, it'll be on Instructables. And find me on all the rest of my social media. I've been using Twitter just a little more. I still use my Instagram all the time, so go check me out there. I'm not on Facebook so much anymore, but you can still like my Facebook page because that would be a great help. And yeah, so I hope to continue filming videos. I definitely will try. And I know, like, I make a lot of empty promises, but this one I hope I will keep, and I will continue to film videos in my free time for the rest of the summer. But until then, I will see you next time.